All right, I think we're all ready then. Sorry. Kaylee, do you want to go over the agenda one more time? Thank you.
Yep, just let me find the button. So agenda again, just for the recording. So we're going to do an introduction to field in the MSW program. We'll have the goals and benefits of field, the field process, preparing for field, some support and resources, and then just at the end, we're going to do a Q&A section.
All right. I will hop in and introduce field. So some of you may be wondering what field education is. Field education is the applied learning portion of our MSW curriculum. What that means is that a good portion of our curriculum is actually us working in the field in a location, working under a licensed social worker. So that can be really across any profession, as far as like private practice therapy, working in a school setting, working with the University of Michigan in any like areas and facets that social workers might be in there. And so that's kind of like, again, that applied learning portion. And then field education is also this opportunity where we're going to be practicing and learning how to like hone our skills that we're learning in the classroom and then applying them to the actual field work that we're doing. And yeah, the specific classes that we have denoted there are social work 515 and social work 691.
I can hop in and talk about the goals and benefits of field education. So why field education is such a big portion of your MSW degree is it is an educational opportunity. It's very synonymous with an internship that you would have at a company before starting full-time there. So during an internship, the whole idea is for you to learn more about the skills and competencies, and field placement is no different. With any social work degree, you do have to meet certain competencies set by the National Association of Social Workers and verified by the Council on Social Work Education. So the purpose of field education is to continue to advance those competencies in a more hands-on way. Again, what Kohler mentioned, taking what you're learning in the classroom and applying it in a hands-on way. So this is how you have that educational opportunity to learn those components. In your field semesters, you will set at the beginning of the semester educational goals and a learning agreement with both your supervisor and your field faculty advisor. And so this is your way to kind of track to make sure that you're learning towards each of those competencies and to ask for opportunities to help you round out your education. So that's kind of that last bullet, is preparing students for generalist practice opportunities for both macro and micro practice methods. That's something else I like to highlight about field. Is the other benefit of being in short-term internships is you can try things that maybe you won't end up doing in your full-time career, but it just expands your horizons. So I encourage people to keep that similar open mind to their field experience and to look for those opportunities in one of the semesters to maybe try a project that might not be something you would want to do in a full-time career, but because you now have the opportunity just while you're finishing your education, it's a really great way to continue to expand those competencies. And now I'll pass it over. Dahlia, do you want to talk through the process?
Yep. So the cool thing about our field process is that sometime before your first semester in the program, or even during your semester in the program, if you're a 20-month or 16-month student, you'll receive an email asking you to apply for field. And what that email will contain is a link to the field application. And so what that application is it allows you to put in your interests, and then it will populate a list based on your interests. So for example, if I wanted to do a placement in a hospital, I'd put like inpatient care, mental health. If I wanted to work with women and children, there's a box for that, or like adults only or children only. And that's so you don't have to like look through all 400 plus placements by yourself. Like it will generate a list for you. You can review them, and then you pick your top 3 and you rank them. And then you also, with your field application, you submit your resume and a goal statement. And then once you submit everything, the field office gets it, and then they reach out to the in the field placement for you, and they see if the placement is accepting interns. And if they are, then your field faculty will let you know. And then you can, like set up the interview, and then you can decide after the interview if it went well and they want you, you can say yes or no. And then in the case that you say yes, you'd be set up with them from there, and the field office will like confirm it and everything. And if you say no, the field office, you'd let them know, and then they'd move on to your next selection. And yeah, I think that's the field process in a nutshell.
So preparing. So you need to make sure you check in with your field instructor before the start date, just to see if you have any additional like requirements to do. Sometimes they'll have like drug testing or health screenings. I know at Michigan Med, there's like a list of things you need to have done before you can even start. And then there's another list of things that you need to have before a certain date in your field process. There could be background checks, an HR application to make sure you're all good. And then you also just want to make sure you're responding to people from your email. It's very important to look at that throughout the summer, especially because they're going to kind of transition from the email you signed up with to your UMich email. So just making sure to check that and really make sure you don't miss an email. It's important. Make sure you attend that pre-field orientation during welcome week. It's really just knowledgeable, and read the syllabus on the Canvas site. You love syllabus. It'll tell you exactly everything you need to do throughout the year. So just read that up. If you have any questions on it, your field faculty is always happy to answer those for you. So definitely do that.
I do want to hop in. I'm so sorry to interrupt. I forgot to mention that when your placement is finalized, you'll be matched. The person you've been in contact with from the field office will typically be your field faculty, and you'll be with them. They will be your advocate and point of contact throughout your internship experience in the program.
All right, so then looking at other support and resources during field. So really, the first and foremost, the best resource that you're going to have is the field office and your field faculty. They really are your ultimate resource. You can go to them with questions, concerns, really anything. If you do need any kind of assistance, feel free to reach out to them via email. They do have some office hours during this period of time. I know that they're subject to change during the semester, like the fall semester and the winter semester, but right now their field office hours are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But they typically say that it works best if you just send them an email, and they're typically pretty good about getting back to you. The next one is the MSW student guide. Specifically looking at volume 3, it refers to the field curriculum and what it's going to kind of entail for you with that. I know that I think everyone after this presentation will be getting the presentation sent to them, and all of that is hyperlinked into the various points here. Next is CAP services. They do have crisis services in case you were to need anything regarding that. It's just a resource that is offered throughout all of the University of Michigan, but we at the School of Social Work have kind of personalized or individualized CAPS worker that is here to help us. So I definitely encourage you utilizing it if needed. And then lastly, if you are, in any need of writing assistance, we do have Betsy Williams, who is in the Office of Student Services and Career Services at the School of Social Work to help you. And then additionally, we have the Sweetland Writing Center, and that's a campus-wide organization that you can go to for writing assistance for really anything. If that might be your resume or your goal statement, you can reach out and ask for that through those. All right, now it's our kind of Q&A portion. Feel free to unmute and ask the question at any time. You can also raise your hand if you have a question, or if you feel more comfortable just typing it into the chat, we'll have someone monitoring and asking that question out loud. But at this point, does anybody have any questions?
So hi, I think you were at I went to another thing that you and Dahlia did, but I'm trying to figure out so I want to do therapy as my field work, but also am like looking at the community change or the CBI Detroit program, and like kind of talked about doing like basically therapy assistance with social emotional learning assistance with like a community organization in Detroit that I had worked with before. So I guess like questions are, I think that they said that the designation of which pathway the fieldwork goes under is determined by the organization, like they choose what they think they are. But I guess I'm curious on like if there are things that sort of fall under both, like that would be therapy-ish, and then also working within a community organization. And then second question is like, I know that for your licensure, it's dependent on micro and macro or something. So I'm trying to figure out like if I did some portion of my field work under like community change stuff, would that still count towards the hours I need for licensure? Are those going to be like independent of each other anyways? So those are my two questions, if it makes sense.
Okay, I'll hop in, and I want to just clarify quick. I want to like kind of deduce these questions quick. So the first one is, you're curious about like if you're interested in interning at that specific organization, you're curious if like that's the like pathway that you could like which pathway you should choose, or like if they allow people from a different pathway to intern there. Is that the first question?
Yeah, so I think with CBI, you have to put community change as your primary pathway, and then do field work that is like community change field work.
Okay.
But I want to get licensed as a therapist as well, and then like eventually partner with community organizations. So I'm trying to figure out like if there are organizations that do both. So I like looked up the one that Dahlia said she's doing because it sounded closest to like sort of like community organization, but mental health focused. And so I'm curious if those are like always categorized in the interpersonal health, or if like they are sometimes categorized as both, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Kohler.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna ask Murata, did you get into the community scholars or the that program?
Yeah.
Okay, so you'd want to, well, I guess to answer your first question, I do know, and you'd probably want to talk to the program lead, the person like who sent you the you got in, or about how you can like what your primary pathway can be, because I know it's required that you have it as what they say you need it to have to be, but you can, and when you graduate the program, an MSW degree is an MSW degree regardless of like what you do during your time here. And after you graduate, you can start you know, obtaining those hours for licensure, whether it's clinical or macro licensure, because like the hours you obtain during the program here don't count towards the licensure in Michigan. They count towards your like field experience for graduation.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that was my second question, was like the hour, you know, you're required to do a certain number of hours or yeah. But I didn't know if any of those, if it matters what you do them in and if it counts towards your licensure, which it sounds like it doesn't for Michigan.
So I see that there's a lot of questions in the chat, and so I want to kind of read some of them out loud just so that everyone gets the opportunity to hear them. The first one was wondering when we start applying for field and how we can decide what works for us. Brett did a great job of applying and saying that for the summer you won't begin your field until September. So just a reminder, for 12-month advanced standing students or master track students, you will start field right away in the fall, but 16 and 20-month students, you will start one semester after, and then you go for 3 consecutive semesters. So for advanced standing students, that is semesters, of course, fall, winter, and summer. For 16-month students, that's going to be winter, spring, summer, and then fall. And then the 20-month students, it will be winter, then you'll have a summer break, and then you'll do it for fall and then winter again. I hope that clarifies that first one. What date do you begin logging your hours? You log them right away. You don't have like, once you kind of start doing field work, you can start logging hours. I'm just trying to scroll through and see any, does anybody else have any questions that they thought were great that we want to share with the group?
I see a question about, hold on, I just lost it. Why is it being lost? Hold on.
Valeria, there's a question about changing field placement.
Okay,
That's good
yes.
for you.
Just okay, give me like 5 seconds.
Valid.
Oh, is it possible to change your field placement if it doesn't end up working out for you? Short answer, yes. Long answer, it's a very intense process, at least in my personal experience. However, the earlier you sense that it's not a good fit for you, the better. So like if it's your first week there or second week there and you feel like something's wrong, schedule a meeting with your field faculty. So the person at U of M who is your kind of point of contact with the field office, and talk to them about it and go from there. If it's 2 semesters in, do the same thing. Schedule a meeting with your field faculty. If your field faculty is not available, someone in the field office, and just talk about next steps, because there's so many reasons to switch placements, but there's also a lot of rules and I guess it'd be called consequences to each reason. So like, for example, there's sometimes and this is a rule that is kind of, it depends on the circumstances. Like if you leave field in the middle of the semester, like those hours will not count that you've obtained, and you'd have to like redo it. So it's very like, there's no one answer for the switching placements, but always, contact your field faculty and the field office, and they will help you with that process if needed. And I did see another question that I wanted to touch on, but I don't remember where it is. But it was about, like how if there's a list of all the field sites. There is, and I'm going to find it because it's somewhere, but it's on the internet somewhere. And I will put it in the chat when I find it. So be on the lookout.
I want to add into what Dahlia just said and mention that while there is a very large list of field sites, as people are being placed into the field sites, you're going to notice that that matrix is constantly changing. So it is kind of an interesting catch where you might see a field placement one week and then the next week it might be gone because someone has accepted that position or is in the process of interviewing for that position. So it's just important to know that they are constantly fluctuating, but there is typically a placement for everyone. So, yeah. I see a question now. Oh, sorry, Brett, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, Dahlia, you might be finding this same website, but in case it's a different one, I'm putting into the chat the web page under the Office of Field Education that's titled For Incoming Students. So it has a lot of great information about this process. So if you want just a reiteration of what we said in the slides or a much more fine-toothed comb of all the information, it is available at this website that I just put into the chat. The caveat about this website, it's part of the School of Social Work intranet. So with the intranet, you do need to be logged into your U of M account in order to access it. If you have questions about logging into the U of M account, you can chat me separately and I can help you out with that. But essentially, as long as you have confirmed your enrollment and created a unique name with the university, then you should be able to log in. But if you haven't done it yet, it can be a little confusing at first. So feel free to message me on the side. Also, the question that just came in about what program you applied to, not a dumb question at all. I know I kept forgetting because there's a lot of different versions. So I think one thing to help just to clarify across the board for everyone. So there's essentially 4 different program tracks. There's 12-month students that breaks off into either you're an advanced standing student, so you're coming in with a bachelor's of social work degree, or you're a master track student, so you have prior experience in the field and go through an online master track Coursera before beginning. Both of those programs will finish up in a 12-month time period. And then there's additionally 16-month and 20-month students. And to the point in the chat, you were referring to it being full-time, but not sure how many months that is. All of those program tracks are full-time, so it could change. I would say the best thing for you to check is your enrollment letter. So whatever letter you received to let you know that you had been admitted will have that information on it. It will also contain which pathway you initially applied to. And if you get here and realize, oh, I meant to say something else, you can definitely change it. You would work with the Office of Student Services or the registrar's office to change enrollment information. And Maya, I see your hand up, so I'll let you go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, Brett, thanks. Just a quick question. Generally, what is like a week look like? Like when you're at your field placement, are you there for 8 hours, 3-4 days? You know, what does it look like for all of you guys?
I'll go first, and I'll say that typically you are there for about 8 hours a day. The course, or like the coursework, I guess, is designed that you are going to be doing, I think what they said is 16 hours or 20 hours a week in field. So it's typically about like 2.5 days in field. So for example, my first semester I was in field 2.5 days. This semester I'm in field 2.5 days. But during my winter semester, because I was taking night classes and I had my days open, I was actually at field, I think 3.5 days a week. which is not necessary. I just was there. So it can kind of vary between students, but that's been my experience.
Okay, thank you. And just a follow-up question, how did you all find it alongside classes? Did it feel like really busy every week? Did it feel manageable?
So I can touch on that because I kind of want to touch on your last question too. Because at certain field placements, you will be required to do 24 hours a week rather than the 16 to 20 normal. That's just at certain ones. So definitely look into that while you're doing your field. I did the 24-hour a week one because I'm at Michigan Med and they require you to be there 3 days a week. So just wanted to let you know that. And for like classes, I think it's very manageable because you do your like 2 or 3 days of field, and then I put my classes on separate days just so you can like kind of separate those out. So I do like Monday, Wednesday, Friday field, and then I try to do Tuesdays all my classes in one, so I have a day off to just do homework. But sometimes it doesn't work out like that, so I get like 2 or 3 classes on Tuesdays and then 1 night class on Thursdays, and I think it's really manageable, so not too bad in my opinion.
Thanks, y'all. That's
Go.
Keep going. I just
Yes.
wanted to thank you guys.
Yeah, no problem. So with I think, are we all 12-month students on here on this call? I think. No, Brett is not.
I am
Sorry,
not.
Brett. Sorry, Brett.
All good.
So since you know, with the advanced standing, like everything is kind of really fast. The 3 semesters have flown by really fast, but what I've found is a typical week, for me at least, I'm at field 2 to 3 days. I started out in field 2 days a week, and then you know, based on like my classes and whatnot, now I have to go to field 3 days a week so I can get my 16 hours, because just, you know, class schedule. But I found it like the classes are kind of offered in a way that you can like put them on 2 days or 1 day, stack them, and then the rest of the week allows you to kind of make your field schedule and work schedule if you have a job and things like that, like, so it's more breathable. And like also some classes are like 5-week courses that start later in the semester or end earlier, so like you may be registered for like 15 to 16 credit hours, but like that won't all be happening at the same time. And that's what I found to be helpful as I, you know, navigate the end of the program, at least. Because it felt overwhelming at first to see my class registration be so long, you know, all those classes. But hopefully that answers and helps.
Yeah. And I want to hop in. I want to just like say this so kind of everyone knows. So field is still accredited class. So it's important to know that while you're doing field work, you are taking credits that are kind of replacing like and I don't want to say replacing, but like replacing a typical class. So that time that, or those credits that you would be spending in like a class, you would actually be just spending them at field. So it's important to know like that those credits are designed to kind of carve out time in your schedule. So yeah.
So Michael just asked a new question in the chat, and I'm going to give my fingers a rest and just answer instead of typing. So it's, can I be logging field hours during official university breaks or between semesters? The standard answer is this is not preferred. It's preferred to just keep it within during the regular semesters. The real answer is you can work it out with your field site. So you would just need to make sure that your supervisor approves and let your field faculty advisor know. So if that is something, say, you know, okay, I'm going to have to be gone during this whole week. Where am I supposed to make up those hours? I'm available during a break, so let's make it up then. So yeah, it's flexible in that sense, but ideally you're going to want to try within those typical 16 weeks of the semester to get the hours in.
I
And then
see. Oh,
oh,
go ahead, Brett. No, you got it.
Gotcha. For the other question about field placement hours being assigned by people at the field placement. So 2 points to answering that question. The first thing I'll say, going off of what Kohler just mentioned about field placement is accredited course. The way that the credits break down in your first semester of field, you're taking that 515 course, or whatever the course code is. In that one, during your intro field semester, you're trying to get around 228 working hours at your field site. So 1 regular hour in the day is a working hour, 228 hours over the course of the semester. Typically what that breaks down to is about 16 hours within the week. In your in your second and third semesters is when you'll be getting, I just did the calculation a second ago, let me pull it back up, but 324, I want to say off the top of my head, 342 hours. The specific number doesn't really matter. Second and third semesters breaks down to about 24 hours in a week. With how you set that up, that is between you and your field site to determine. So I often try to approach it with my supervisor of, these are the classes I think I'm thinking about taking. Would any of those hinder time at field? Here's the 16 or 24 hours in the week that I can commit to field. So usually your supervisors at your field placement will wait for you to determine your schedule. But if there are certain team meetings that they really want you to save on your calendar, they'll let you know that, and you'll just have to discuss that and arrange your class schedule around that.
All right. I just saw a question that I thought would be great. So someone asked, do field placements typically give us the same breaks as the university? Kaylee did a great job of answering in the chat, but I do want to just say that our breaks are based on the school's social work academic calendar. So any breaks that the school have, it's expected that you get those as well. It's important to just remember that you are a student and a learner in those environments, and that you as a student do get to take the breaks that students are offered. And most of the field sites do know that. Dahlia also mentioned that you'll just want to let your field supervisor know just in advance of what holidays you're going to be taking off and what the calendar for the university is.
Go ahead, Dahlia.
I know we're hopping. So I see another question that says, is it possible to work part-time in addition to field and classes, or is that typically too much to juggle? I always answer this with you know yourself better than anyone, and if you feel like you can try it out, working and doing school, and if you find that like your mental health or your physical health is suffering and school is suffering, then you can adjust as needed. I guess to give a brief just example, I mean, I used to work 3 jobs in undergrad and go to school full-time, and now I work part-time barely and go to school full-time, because the difference between undergrad and grad school was so intense. And I did have to move to this area and this and that, so a lot of factors. So just yourself better than anyone, and kind of you test the waters as you start the program. And I think that's like you can do it. I mean, I know students who work full-time and do the program full-time. I don't think that's for me, right? So it's really depends on where you land in that.
All right. The next question I see here, how likely is it that you will be placed in a field placement that is in your top 3 choices? kind of a short and sweet answer. There is a possibility, but it's not guaranteed. So for example, I got my top choice, but I knew that it wasn't necessarily a guarantee. It just kind of depends on whose applications are turned in at the time and where people are being assigned at that time. So yes, it's a possibility. I don't know the actual likeliness of it, but it sounds like in general, typically students are getting within close to their top 3. So yeah.
Sometimes, like the field site, so I had a site on my application that I really wanted, and my field faculty reached out and they weren't accepting interns. So like that can happen too. And it's nothing against you as a person or a student, it's just they're at capacity with interns. Some sites have like a 2 to 3 intern limit or something, but it's really like just depends on what's going on.
The next question, are these conversations all had with the faculty member we're assigned to? So yes, just to kind of give you kind of a breakdown of people you're going to be assigned to during your time here. You're going to be assigned a field supervisor. So that is the person that you work directly under at your field placement. Your field faculty is the faculty member that is assigned kind of guiding you during this process. They're also the ones in charge of grading your field assignments, etc. Another person that you may encounter but is not guaranteed or sometimes needed is a task manager. The task manager is typically someone that you would be working alongside that's also going to kind of be directing you and guiding you in that process. So sometimes you will have 3 people involved and sometimes it'll only be 2 people. But I wanted to throw that out there.
I saw a question about hours being broken up in a specific way. So the person just said, are they supposed to be broken up in a specific way? I just need 684 hours across all 3 semesters. That is true. And usually they'll divide up very evenly for you. So technically you'll be wanting to get, I can't math right now. So like a third of those hours before. So if your even keel breakup is like 200 hours, which it's a little more than that, then it'll be that same amount of hours across the 3 semesters. I know personally, I do 344 each semester or 342 each semester to get my total. So definitely it's going to be about the same amount of hours each semester adding up to your total. I hope that helps.
I want to add on to that, Kaylee, just because some placements are going to be a little weird with that. I don't want to get too far into detail with this, but so for example, at like my school placement, my first 2 semesters, I am easily able to get the hours that I need. But this last semester, my field site closes, of course, because schools go out of session in the summer. So for some students who are doing like sites that might be closed in the summer or are kind of a short placement or like a short-term placement, which is not very typical, and it is it's explained to you in those cases before you agree to them. But I'll use field or like a school setting as an example. What I ended up doing was I did 6 credit hour or 6 credits my first semester, 6 credits my second semester, and then I received kind of like this quote unquote out of sequence approval, which meant then I was doing my credits during those semesters, and then I'll be just finishing up my hours during this semester. That sounds really complicated, and if you do have any other questions regarding that specifically, I would recommend reaching out to the field office because they'll do a much better job of explaining it.
Hi, this is Michael. I was the person asking about logging hours. You did do a pretty good job of explaining it, so thank you. I guess this is a question specifically for Dahlia, because I already interviewed and got my field placement with Community Action Network, and I was just kind of like the reason I was asking about it is for my like bachelor's in social work. I worked in an elementary school like UColler, and that was the problem I ran into where like I had a whole like half semester over a summer, but because my field placement was at an elementary school, I like kind of had to cram hours in before like just because it worked out. And I guess specifically for Dahlia, like I part of the reason I wanted to go to Community Action Network was because like I didn't want to do this, have to fit my schedule around a school schedule, knowing one of my semesters is over the summer. Is that like a good balance, I guess, with Community Action Network? Community Action Network, I guess, is what I'm asking.
So I can speak to it as currently. I'm not sure if in the future, because are you starting in the fall, your field placement? 'Cause you've already
Yes,
gotten it.
I'd be starting in the fall, and I would go because I'm advanced standing. It's from like the fall into next summer.
Okay, so currently at Community Action Network, I'm over the spring summer semester, I will be like doing the after or the summer camp program for the children and youth. And yes, it goes throughout the whole summer, like from May through August. So you won't have to worry about missing out on hours or having like with school ending, like in Kohler's situation with his like school placement. Yeah, the only reason why I have to go in 3 days a week is because like I'm still kind of new to the site, and like I was trying to figure out like my hours and classes and whatnot, and navigating that. But it's doable. It's a pretty well, like it's a good placement for 12-month students.
Awesome. Thanks a bunch.
There is a question in the chat that's asking, is it possible to give a general overview of responsibilities in field? And do these duty from the agency or the University of Michigan? Oh, so kind of that's a great question. So the first thing is it really depends on the field site that you're placed at. Some examples of things that you might be doing is like in some community-based organizations, you might be a case manager. In other cases, you might actually be doing interpersonal therapy or group therapy. In my case, I am working as kind of like a school social work behavioralist. So I'm working a lot with students with IEPs and working towards IEP goals. I'm blanking on other, I know that there's some places that are just like specifically research focused. I know Kaylee, you said that you're in a hospital setting, and Brett, I know you said it and I've completely forgotten, but I think you're at Wolverine Wellness, correct?
Yeah, I intern there, and
Okay.
also school or student conflict resolution. But yes.
And if anyone's wondering about, I did a more of a mental health therapy placement in my first 2 semesters in the program, and I essentially was a therapist and saw clients one-on-one and did just therapy work with them. So you just get like tossed in the field, and you do have support though. Like you'll have a supervisor and like the interns and a lot of help, and you just start to work as a learner as well.
Yeah. And then the second part of that question asking about who kind of assigns the duties, if I'm understanding it correctly. So the agency is the one assigning the duties and responsibilities. However, the University of Michigan is really kind of focused on making sure that the duties that you're doing falls within the competencies that the Council on Social Work Education has set for us. There's 9 competencies. If you're interested in that, I just strongly recommend typing in social work 9 competencies, and they do a great job of breaking it down. I also know somewhere on the University of Michigan website, there is a beautiful breakdown for each of the different pathways that might be specific or different. Dahlia also shot in the Code of Ethics. That's another great place to look for them. But so yeah, typically, again, the agency will assign the duties and responsibilities, and then the University of Michigan wants to make sure that they fall within those 9 competencies.
There's a resource that I put in the chat that I just quickly want to put on my screen to visualize. So this tool, while you're planning your courses, truly will be your best friend. This is the course planning worksheet. This is another resource that you'll need to be signed in order to access it. So again, if you need any help signing in with your UMich ID, definitely reach out to us and let us know. But as soon as you are enrolled and have set up your unique name, you should be able to access this. So on the course planning worksheet, the first page what you'll come to is just the search page. And so you'll just put in your specific criteria. So majority of people on this call are starting fall 2023. I'm going to say a 16-month student, but obviously pick the one that's true to you. They even show what special programs you might be a part of. And then for pathway, we'll say a community change student. When I go to creating it, this is the breakdown of what classes you would anticipate taking each semester. And so this is where I just want to like visually show how field fits into your semesters. So the 16-month student during their first semester, they're taking their essential courses. And then going into the second semester, still a few essential courses, and now going into pathway courses. But then second semester is also where your field starts coming in. So that foundation field course, Social Work 515 that we talked about before, you're only taking the 2 credit hours in that first semester. In your third semester, now you're taking advanced field hours. And so this is where you really get to see that it's taking up a good chunk of your schedule, allowing you to have more time focused in field and less time having to be in classes. And then finally, in your last semester is where you're also having another 6 hours of that advanced field education. So hopefully that can just help clarify how it gets broken down over the term.
I do want to add to the course thing. So usually they didn't explain this to me very well. So I want to try and explain it to you so you don't get as confused as I did in my second semester. So as an advanced standing student, you only need 12 semester hours, which is 12 semester hours of field, which is 4 semester hours of 691 each term. But if you work at a field placement that requires you to do 24 hours a week, you will be doing 6 semester hours of 691 instead of 4, which then adds to a total of 18, not 12. So it won't shorten your time. You won't be doing 2 semesters and getting 12. You'll be doing 3 semesters and getting 18 semester hours. So you'll have another 6 semester hours of field than most people, I would say. But I just wanted to explain that because I did not get explained.
I want to address another question that came up in the chat. It says, I'm just having trouble finding a list of where the field placements are. So I know we've addressed this, but I also want to just kind of readdress it, just to make sure everyone knows. So it sounds like Dahlia said that there is a website that has them all listed, but additionally, when you do actually apply for field, you will see the whole, you'll see a large list of those field placements already available to you. And you can take as much time as you need to look through those field placements and do the research on it. Typically they come with a small write-up and like a link to a website or a page that will give you more information. And so you can also take as much time as you need during that application to really look into the specific sites that you're interested in. Next one, at field, are there other students or are you the only person there? It kind of depends. So in some places you're working with other interns, and in other places you are the only one, like you're the only intern there. So to give you just an example, while there are other interns placed with my organization, I am the only intern at the school that I'm at. So just to give you an idea, like I still meet with other interns throughout the large organization, but at that specific school, I'm the only intern there. And so because it does just kind of vary. I also, for everyone, sorry, I'm talking a lot, but I also threw in the chat the actual link to all of the competencies. You may have to log in with your unique name and password. I'm not really sure. Sometimes it makes you and sometimes it doesn't. So, yeah.
Okay, Brett's answering it in the chat. I was gonna say, is there someone to talk? The question is there someone to talk about how courses work, this and that? Yes, you will be assigned an advisor, and the email Brett provided is a good resource. There's also the course planning worksheets that we talked about, and also the technical advisors. If that's still a thing. That they help you as well with your course planning. And I also wanted to note, I know we're almost at 7, but I could not find the site that I was thinking about. However, when you do, I put in the site for the like field process application stuff. When you do start your application, it will populate the list. I suggest reaching out to the field office and asking if there is a link to the kind of the field sites. I don't remember where I saw it. Maybe it doesn't exist and I'm just think it does. I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah, wait, I'm so confused. I've like been on every single part of this. It's like, this is what you do next. Okay, so then I finally got to field placement application and it says application closed.
So you may if you're logged in with your UMich stuff, I don't know if you'll have access to that just yet.
Okay.
It may open later for students, but that's again a question for the field office because I'm not sure where they're at with that process at this moment.
I'm going to email them because it said that that it started on May 1, but like I just got in recently, so I didn't even know about, like, I'm learning all of this, but okay, so I should just email the office. Okay, cool. Thanks, y'all.
And Sarah gave some really great insight from just finishing the application. So right, when you are going in to officially apply, and again, if you are a 16 or 20-month student, that will not be until September. So there's no need to go in now. If you're curious about what people have done in the past, there's some testimonials on the field education site. So I would say just start there rather than trying to determine which site you're going to be at this early on, because again, you don't know officially which sites will be available. So I know from personal experience and from working with the folks in the field office, they are still confirming and finalizing that list of which field sites will be available for students who are going to start applying this upcoming fall. And that is why that list of what sites you can apply to is not currently available. Sarah mentioned that when filling out the application, that's when you actually see all of the information. And so that's where that breakdown is. And that, from my understanding, it's the same link used throughout. So the link that Sarah used when they were filling out the application is the same link that Maya, when you finally are filling out your application, you'll use. So that's why during separate periods, it might be closed and inaccessible because it's just them recycling through and figuring out, well, who's going to be on the list and who's not going to be on the list. So hopefully that should add some clarity for why it feels like there might be a firewall. It's not that anybody's trying to stop you from it. It's just so that they can be able to complete their process on the back end before it needs to be opened up again. But if it's a different situation of you are starting field in the fall, then yes, definitely reach out to them for clarity. But again, if you are a 16 or 20-month student, you will be told during the month of September when it opens up. And I would say, do not worry about figuring out which field site you're going to be at until that time.
Okay. Do we have any other questions at this moment? If not, I am going to just stop the recording.